So, welcome back to the second age of this three-player game. And last time at the end we discussed what possible course of actions is. And yeah, the turn starts with me ceding the developed wealthy territory to. And let's see what I will go for here. First of all, the uncertain borders is revealed. I am not the weakest, which is obviously good for me. And I do go for the Republic. And now I really have some awkward last civil actions. I cannot take 2 cards, and I cannot take a wonder. And yeah, overall, I'm stuck with going for the irrigation after I went for selective breeding for 2 civil actions, which is, yeah, pretty bad scenario. And if I look at this turn in hindsight, maybe going for the Republic is not correct. Maybe I should try to just take Kremlin and team spots, for example. I think that's a good alternative because this will fix happy faces at some point. Maybe I can do something even like disbanding religion and building a team sport. Yeah, but it has its own problems. I don't really have signs for both of these, selective breeding and team sports, and everything is a problem in this situation somehow. So maybe even going for the Republic is my best option to fix one of the problems my civilization has, and that's civil actions. But as we discussed last time, this means no red cubes, and we will see if that's something I can get away with. So yeah, feels pretty bad going for the irrigation, but I think after taking Republic, I did not really have other options. Oh yeah, there was also the possibility of going organized religion if I go for the Kremlin. And maybe, yes, maybe that's just somehow better overall, but it's hard to say. I draw the mobile artillery, which is pretty good. Every time you have knights developed already, I think that's one of the best, if not the best, tactic to draw in H2. Can be good enough to survive the entire game, with air forces especially. Vast territory is revealed, and I am willing to... what was I actually willing to bid? So I think if I press pause here now, and I switch to someone else, it will bug. But if I don't, I cannot switch. Let's see what happens. No, I cannot switch in any scenario. Okay, I have to press OK. I cannot check out my civilization. But with cartography, I can do it here. Okay, let's see. I don't have red cubes. I'm obviously not willing to bid an army, because that would be a lot more. But did I even... I did not even bid all the defense cards, right? What is happening to me in this game? 2, 4, 6, 8. I could bid 8 just with defense cards. I guess I do have information about other colonies. I don't exactly know if it's another vast. I know that I just seeded the wealthy too, which is also kind of good, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's another vast. There's other good H2 territories which can somehow justify not bidding everything. But the huge problem here is I cannot hold these cards anyway. So yeah, I hope for the best case, I guess, where I just use these two. But I think I should always bid all my colonization cards here. Another mistake here, I would say. So yeah, Heir of Valyria gets it. Pretty important territory. And he only has to bid a swordsman. Yeah, that's good for him, I guess. We see the theology by Jezza to fix this situation, which occurred after losing the uncertain borders. So yeah, having this theology in hand comes in very handy here. We see him upgrading iron, taking cannon. Yeah, very kind of fast turn and very clean. International trade agreement, and I will not be a part of it. That's very sad. I think in this situation I'm already kind of behind. So maybe I would offer it to me, but offering it to Jezza is also okay. It's Heir of Illyria has the best situation here, and yeah, it's definitely also okay to offer it to Jezza, I think, metagame wise. And he goes for coal. He can even just go for it, right? Yeah, he fixes all his problems here with economy income, as I also shortly discussed in the summary of the last video. He did not do anything for economy yet, but he can just do it now, and this looks super good. Rebuilds the warrior to be strongest again. He can even do that and take the wave. Yes. Depending on what is in here, it might be important to be the strongest and also not the weakest. So the warrior is understandable. What I would probably consider is taking a copy of journalism, since I think journalisms are a good win condition in 3-player games. If you can get away with building one mid H2 or something, you will have a very good situation generally to win the game, because it just gives culture and science and sets up for a lot of H3 options, and is generally one of the strongest win conditions in my opinion. He doesn't do it. He prefers the wave, and I can kind of understand it, but personally I would probably decide to take journalism instead of wave here. Or even instead of taking rebuilding the warrior and just taking the wave, taking journalism, then you don't have to populate. But that would also be corruption, so maybe that's not a good option. Yeah, just journalism instead of wave. Me personally, I would do that probably, but that's certainly debatable. And let's see. My turn is okay, not forced. I thought, okay, I have to go for the revolution now. That was the plan. But I see this cannon on 2, and Jezza already took 1 copy, and I have the mobile artillery. And I decide it's just too important to get it. This can, just in order to not die. And again, I'm not really happy with this. Maybe at this situation I have to take a gamble to draw another tactic, or I don't know. It's just losing to not go for the revolution now. I took the Republic for 2 civil actions last turn, and now I take cannon for 2, which costs 6 science, so I won't be able to go for it very quickly anyway. So it's more of denying it from Heir of Illyria. Of course, if Heir of Illyria has a defensive army, it's just game over for me. But like this, it's also kind of game over for me, I think. And I have to take some gambles here, and I don't. I play for safety. Maybe I can still go for 2nd place. That's one argument for the cannon, but yeah, I don't. As you see, I don't really like what's happening here. I don't even know what I do here. I take the journalism. I upgrade one of the stages. Yes, journalism, as I just discussed, the win condition, and I need also something to fix my science. But I guess, I don't know. Still going for the Kremlin. If I go for cannon, I can just still go for Kremlin. Actually, I kind of didn't see that. All of these turns in hindsight, I have to say I didn't play very well in this game, as we see. But that's an important part of Through the Ages, revisiting games and seeing the own mistakes and trying to improve on that. So what I took away from this game so far is Stonehenge is not enough science income to be able to go for all these technologies with just +2 science income into H2. You have to make sure to increase science income even if you have Stonehenge. If you want to go for like cartography plus masonry plus knights. And I think that's my main take. And yeah, there was some efficiency things. That's the other main take that I also talk a lot about. Like taking the selective breeding, it's just so inefficient. Since I even could not go for it. That's, I think, that was the, I don't know, the seal that sealed the game to be very hard for me. I mean, it still kind of depends on how they finish the game. So if they don't play well, I still have chances, I think. But looking at this and the first two turns of H2, I would say I'm super far behind right now, especially behind Air of Illyria, who has everything right now, and Jezza. We will see how it turns out. Maybe I can fight for it, the second place. I'm not the weakest, at least. I'm not losing strength events. That's the one thing I have going for me. So we see the border conflict, and Jezza loses building, which is always kind of annoying, especially with the Acropolis. Upgrades the mine. The last mine takes efficient upgrade for the future. Something for the future Richland. So that's the plan of selective breeding, I guess. Which is not here. But efficient upgrade can also be used for scientific method. That's pretty solid. And breakthrough for 2. Some yellow cards. Also doesn't take journalism. Also doesn't take justice system, which I would like here, I think. The breakthrough is super good. Maybe efficient upgrade and Richland are just too much. He has a solid rock income. Maybe 1 is enough. And then why not go for justice system? He had some reasons, I guess, but I think it would be super solid here. He would be on 3+2. Yeah, that is kind of sad. 3+2 would not be enough to go for scientific method next turn. So this border conflict hurt him a lot, actually. Yeah, so maybe justice system is not the best option here. Or take it in hand, develop it next turn with breakthrough. That's also kind of awkward. Yeah, different. There are some options. Yeah, I don't think this Richland is super good, but it's also not horrible or something. Air of Illyria populates twice, upgrades. The second mine takes efficient upgrade for the last upgrade next turn and goes for scientific method. Yeah, I would still go for journalism, but scientific method also, especially in 3-player, 4-player games, I think it's way better than in 1-on-1. And there's Bill Gates, which is always a good argument. And there's Steve Jobs, who is a kind of okay argument for scientific methods. But it's the science itself, obviously. It's less greedy than journalism because you need 1 less population here, and more science, obviously. But yeah, I think journalism would also be a good option here. Both are reasonable, both options. Upgrades the swordsman, and it's a little awkward to not draw a card for this, but it's a minor thing. New deposits, very good for air also after he went for the coal upgrade, and I'm stuck with the corruption of Megadeth. No, I can fix it with Barbarossa after the revolution. It's finally time to get this Republic out. I can get another knight. There's still some colonies in, so yeah. I mean, it's not an unplayable situation. We will see. I see this railroad, and I really hope to get this railroad with masonry, and I think this railroad would fix my entire situation actually, because it would give crucial strength right now, and I I have something where I can put my rocks, other than having nothing where I can put my rocks next turn. Yeah, this railroad would be awesome, and let's see if I get it. National Pride, Jazza gets some culture, it's not that impactful. And we see cannons, selective breeding for 2. I guess the cannons are for being able to defend, but wasn't he able to defend anyway? I mean, he could pretend to be able, maybe he wasn't, but I don't only have 2 red cubes. It's very unlikely I try an aggression. I think it's also very unlikely that air tries an aggression, so it's just preparing for wars, possibly, or preparing for an own war, maybe even possibly, but then no Napoleon. And into scientific method for 2, which is an important card. They are both very important, those cards. So yeah, maybe just no good alternatives here, other than just building that cannon. Yeah, I don't see a much better turn. We see the wealthy territory, probably the reason why I underbid on the vast. And I get it for the warrior even. I'm preparing the mobile artillery even better with 3 knights. We see scientific methods. Upgrade. Does he also go for one? He didn't use an efficient upgrade here. Somehow. Okay. He does go for the railroad, which is super sad for me. But it makes a lot of sense for him. It's super good with coal. Wait. He didn't upgrade. Oh yeah, he built it with an urban growth. Okay. And he didn't use sufficient upgrade to not corrupt. Yeah, obviously. All makes sense. He can still use it next turn here. And even build the railroad, if I'm not mistaken. Builds another swordsman. By now, okay, he's using H2 red cubes instead of having to do it in H3, and he might prepare some aggressive plays with this. Goes to 16 strength, which does hurt, especially if Jazza loses his Nostradamus, this extra strength to defend, and I don't have red cubes, so he can go pretty aggressively with the railroad also, maybe even for a war. So that does make sense. And economic progress is revealed, and I only get 2 rocks out of it. It's again super good for Air of Illyria, who got both new deposits and economic progress after he built his coal. And I decide to go for another knight to prepare the cannon mobile artillery even more, just to be efficient with Barbarossa, and also because I can't really do a lot other than that. And I get Gaudi, who's pretty good, who helps me go for this journalism or possibly other H3 buildings. And just to be able to use the rocks, I go for the Eiffel Tower and build it. It's really not the wonder I wanted, but it's the wonder I got. And yeah, maybe it's still wrong, I don't know. But I don't really have good options here, so I just went for it. This reserves looks interesting to be able to populate maybe once more in 2 turns or something. But overall, I wanted to spend the rocks and there was not a really good option. I guess I could consider going for journalism, getting rid of a warrior and building a journalism, but I could not defend, and he would see that because I only had one card, and that could possibly mean just a raid too, which destroys journalism and alchemy, so it's just not an option. And like this, I also have 6 signs for next turn for the cannons. And yeah, as we now see, I think it's actually a playable civilization if I had 1 more red cube. Or possibly 2 with strategy. But like this, I'm pretty prone to getting beaten. And I think we are about to find out whether that happens. That's a pretty good draw for me because yeah, colonies when I have cartography, obviously pretty nice. I have a good tactic to bid for that important colony. Politics of Strength revealed before the age flips, but also in a situation where I'm just barely weakest. Yeah, but no, I won't draw H3 cards, possibly. But I would probably not draw any anyways, because I have to use my red cubes anyway. So I think it's actually good that it happened in H2. But maybe it just gave Elf Illyria war, so yeah, does hurt. Always hurts to lose Politics of Strength, but it also always hurts a lot more when it triggers in H3, obviously. Jezza goes for another Ken. He has the Ken tactic. Fortification, very good for him. That means he will be able to defend wars very nicely, and he goes for selective breeding, so he also fixes most of his problems. The one that is remaining is science income, but he can go for this next turn. And now he will probably... He decided not to go for a leader here. I think he's looking out for Newton next turn. It means he loses the civil action, but he will get it back with Newton. And yeah, Bach is not doing anything here, and Watt also not doing anything here. I guess you could have argued just using it for selective breeding and hoping to get a very early H3 leader. Maybe that would be an option. But I can also understand that he goes for Newton, waits for Newton here. But the more I look at it, I think I would go for Watt here, actually, because he gives immediate value, and then there's this cool scenario where oil drops very early, and then he has a really good situation. Going for oil with Watt is just the dream. And that might be a win condition, actually. And like this, he's not setting up for win conditions so much, in my opinion, because Elf Illyria is just too far ahead, so he also is in a situation where he needs some to win some bets. And I think going for Watt is a good bet here for an early oil. Let's look at it. There's no Marie Curie, but early oil is always super good with James Watt. So, let's see. Yeah, Elf Illyria had a war or drew a war. It doesn't even matter. And goes for it. And he does not have to do a lot. He just develops strategy and builds the railroad, and that's it. Maybe even 1 more swordsman. Yeah, why not? And he's at 27 strength. And this looks super GG. Actually, I mean, it's the war over technology. I think war over territory would have been even worse, I guess. I can develop the cannon now. Sadly, I don't have Barbarossa anymore. But who could have expected that the age doesn't end? So it doesn't make a whole lot of difference anyway. I can go for this. I can go for the tactic. Go to 18. But I will lose the 2 signs and both technologies. So does hurt a lot. Yeah. I think both wars are just GG at this point. And again, if I had more red cubes, I could just win the war. I have a super good tactic. I have... yeah. It's just... That's the losing condition here. The Kremlin, it looked in my face for 2 turns straight, and I just didn't look back somehow. I think I remember I didn't really consider it actually. I just considered it here in this replay analysis. So that's something I missed. And I think the reason I didn't consider it, I mean, yeah, I saw the card, but I didn't really consider it because of the happy face issues. But they would also have been solved if I just went all in on the vast territory. Oh, so many mistakes this game. I hope I won't do these mistakes in the next stage. And yes, since the game is kind of over at this point for me, at least, I'm not in a position realistically to go for position 1, maybe for position 2 if Valyria also kills Jezza, but even this is kind of unlikely since Jezza is a really good tactic to defend. So since it's kind of over, I will just blitz through this last stage. So instead of separating it again, I will just blitz through the last stage and show you the results. Jezza goes for Newton, goes for scientific method, fixes a lot of problems now. And there would have been the oil actually. So I called it. I think that would be so awesome. It's not entirely clear if he had the civil actions to immediately go for it. Probably not, but he could take it and still be kind of happy with that, I guess. But also this is very solid. He has Newton with scientific method in a game where Nobel prizes are probably happening at some point. So yeah, it's definitely not bad, but the other plan would have been awesome, I think. I lose everything, and Valyria decides to spy Jezza. I mean, okay, he could not spy me, obviously, but that's good for me, I guess. At this point, I'm only looking at second place. And we see a very early democracy, which he almost can go for. And this is just super winning. I think at this point he can almost let the AI play and it doesn't lose. So we don't need to overanalyze these turns. What do I do first? I missed. I took organized religion last turn, I guess. Disband the warrior. I have to get some science income. Go for the religion. Yeah, it's all kind of, I don't know. I guess the tanks are just denying tanks from them. I don't really need rocks. I cannot even spend my rocks, and there's sadly no reserves, which I would have taken immediately to use it for food. So yeah, just go for the tanks, deny it from one of them. Only draw 1 card, so again, he can just play an aggression. And yeah, at this point, since I know he can just play an aggression, I am willing to bid even the pair for this territory, which does fix some problems for me. I can do stuff with some science, and the yellow cubes are also important. I'm willing to bid a lot. I know it's a high risk, but I can still hope that he's super unlucky and doesn't draw more aggressions or wars. So that's maybe the one out I have. And as I said, I could not defend without this pair anyway. And I can go for 2 cannons now. I still have 3 knights. I can just build 2 cannons with those 2 red cubes I have. So yeah. Jezza upgrades the lab, increases its population, builds another cannon to be able to defend, I guess, and goes for multimedia. That I like. Multimedia is super good with Newton also, and also a very good win condition card, especially that early. And if he goes for the growth now, he can build it next turn. It's kind of risky because it would mean almost all his rocks, but I think it's still, if not next turn, then maybe the turn after that he can go for it, and that's pretty cool for him. And Valyria plunders me. It takes all my food. That's the one that hurts more than the rocks, I guess. It's even a plunder 3, so it's good for him. And can just go for mechanized agriculture here, super good. Yeah. Doesn't this look beautiful? He has everything. I want his civilization. I don't want my civilization. Yeah, as we see, even now, I think the Ravages of Time would hurt him a lot. Even now, it's, I mean, he would still be in a winning position, but if there was a Ravages of Time, a lot of things would be different. I mean, if I made good choices, a lot of things would be also different. I don't want to blame it on luck or something. I just want to say generally, going back to this HA skip, HA wonder skip, it can work out as we see here, and it can still be hurt a lot to lose this to Ravages. Just something to look out for. And there's some hope for me at the horizon. There's a Gandhi, and I just go for it. I can hope to, I don't know, sneak a second place somehow with this journalism Gandhi and not doing anything for military anymore, because I can't realistically do anything for military to compete strength-wise. So this fundamentalism is just consequently a hate draft. Take it away from Jezza. Yeah. Doesn't matter too much what I do here. If I take Urban Growth or this, maybe I should take Urban Growth, but he could just go for this now. I mean, he can also go for communism, so maybe this fundamentalism wasn't the best play. I don't know. See him going for democracy. He doesn't want to be aggressive on me. He wants to maximize his own position. Culture-wise, he can go for Bill Gates, which is pretty good. And I think I also agree going for Gates democracy before multimedia, which just enables more options. Also defending wars against Air of Illyria. And it will consequently also just be more multimedias being built in 1 or 2 turns with the rock income of Bill Gates. So I like that turn overall. Independence declaration, I may lose a wealthy territory or developed. I can choose that. Probably the wealthy. And he just goes for opera. Yeah. Can build 2 operas. Looks good. Doesn't even bother with military tech. Doesn't need it. I can go for tourism. That's, yeah, it's a good pact for me. Can still hope for, I have still some minor hopes to end on second place here. Let's see. I can use reserves on food to get the population out, and I hate draft the military theory. Go for journalism, take patriotism, also kind of hate draft. And yeah, it might be arguable that it makes no sense to hate draft this, because I need to pray, I don't know, and play on my for my own maximize my own stuff here and hope that they decide not to declare any war for me. But I don't know, it's close. If we look at these positions, it still looks kinda okay with Jezza, and I think if he can just go for a war for free, that would be bad. So I hope that by taking military theory away, I just deny him that option. And there's one more option he has. There's the other military theory, obviously, which he can overcome my Gandhi with. But in that case, I might also just be able to, with all those patriotisms and a military theory on my own, to maybe even defend, because he will just have that that one turn where he can declare war but not build anything. So I can see it in advance. And it's also similar with him. He also needs, he could go for hybrid war, but he also needs a military theory for a decent war. So yeah, as I said, maybe it's still wrong to take it for 3. but there's also not a lot of better options. Maybe a computer is actually not that bad here. Computers are pretty good in multiplayer games, just for all the impacts that they want to see it. Impact of science, impact of, I don't know. Yeah, science. Architecture, balance, maybe, possibly, and you get the idea. It's technology, obviously, yes. It's good for impacts, so why not? Maybe it's better than hate drafting military theory. Also, if they go for a war and don't time it well, I might just resign. So that's also an option they have to consider. There's the vast territory. I don't get it. I have nothing left to bid. I don't have a pair. I don't have a cartography, so not getting that. He's willing, Jezza, wow, he's willing to bid a lot for this, and I'm not really certain if he needed it. I mean, he can kind of afford it, but it's still very expensive. I'm not certain if that's, yeah, not too high of a price, but he does have a good tactic. He can rebuild just 2 cans. Didn't need the swordsman, so they were kind of almost, yeah, given away for free. They can still go for multimedia, so the turn looks super clean. Takes computer in hand, takes rev idea in hand. Over reserves patriotism. Yeah. Has another rev idea already. Yeah, I don't know. This looks redundant, but I'm not gonna overanalyze it. Gut feeling says that some rocks would be better. Yeah, there's a raid. Just super GG for me at this point. That was probably the worst. I mean, he pays a lot just to raid me. And I don't think he has to look at me in this game anymore. But he's win. Oh, doesn't he? I don't know. Yeah, I think he's his competitor, not me. And he pays really a lot just to raid me. And obviously it's some rocks for him, but yeah. I think you could argue that it's kind of waste to destroy some buildings from me, but maybe not. It's unclear. You can go with the rocks. You can go for a really good turn. Actually, it just goes for a maximum Empire State Building and an Opera. So yeah, those rocks enabled that, right? He has 5 left. I think he got more than 5 there. He can go for Dietrich. Not this turn, next turn. So with this, yeah, he looks, as I said, totally winning. Rebuilding some journalism, getting some text out. I mean, considering how the game went, this still looks like a half-decent civilization, right? And it deceptively looks like I have some chance, but if you look closer, it's 0 chance, really. It's just 0. That's also an important thing, to be able to look at the situation and judge it. And obviously, I know the outcome of the game, which you also know by now, that I'm gonna end last. But if you look at this and you think, oh yeah, there's a chance, no, you have to look closer. Here's I'm not building a wonder. Their economy is way better. They are better prepared for every impact, and they will build wonders, and I won't probably. And that means it's 0 chance, actually. Between them, yeah, it's also, I mean, I kind of already said it. His civilization is just too clean, too good overall, in order for Jazza to catch up to that. There might be some scenarios, but I think this looks really, really over, also for Jazza in comparison to Air Valyria. And I just do some maximizing here. Industry, not the best for me. Kind of good for Air of Valyria. Jezza finishes the Red Cross and is sitting at 140 culture now. And I think, yeah, Air of Valyria already had more than it. And yeah, I mean, if you looked at the culture standing, maybe you were asking yourself, hey, is it that clear? Because Air of Valyria, like 3 turns ago, he had 50 culture, was like 50 culture bind or something. And we just see he's I mean, okay, this is just on top of everything, just a Hollywood at the end, but that wasn't even necessary. He would also win without it by a lot already. So yeah, culture is not as important in 3-player, 4-player as, or let's phrase it differently, economy is just so much more important than some culture lead that you go into in H3. It's, as I mentioned, I think in my other videos also, it's different to 2-player, where you can go for a culture engine and try to just finish the game fast enough. I think it doesn't really work like that. Most of the cases in 3-player, 4-player, that doesn't work against really strong economies. Yeah. And as we see, I mean, this comes down to, I don't know if it's H3, if I could have done anything better in H3. I blitzed kind of through it, but I think I didn't see some glaring mistakes. Yeah, maybe some optimization for me instead of going for military theory and so on, but it doesn't really do that much also. But maybe it does enough to close this gap. But as we see the impacts coming, it gets less and less likely, right? Because I'm just not well prepared for any impacts. So at the end, it's 40 culture difference, 50 even, and then there's another 80 gap between those. So a very clear game, an example of a game, I think, where you can clearly see some decisions, some small quotation marks decisions at the end of H1 or even earlier, mid H1 and then at the start of H2, which just snowball like crazy. And yeah, that's through the ages. That's the beautiful thing about the game. You can always revisit the game and just pinpoint, okay, if I had done this, and then probably I would have better chances. And sometimes, of course, it comes down to luck. Sometimes you say, okay, I wouldn't do it differently, and I just lost some bets, but the bets were good. But I think here we can all agree that there were some strange turns, and in the end, I lose the game. And I still overall had a very good position at this point, even after this 3-player game. And I might, since I think the next stage will start probably in 1 or 2 weeks, I guess, I might not be able to upload another video of this stage, so I can just reveal that I finished first, so I am in the upper bracket of the next stage. There were more interesting games. Maybe I can still show one, but yeah, I managed to finish first, and I think the competition was kind of good, and pretty happy with this. Pretty happy with being in the 4th stage in the upper bracket, and let's see if I can do it. I mean, I think the next stage will be really tough, because I think you won't see any glaring mistakes by opponents anymore. Like in this stage, I still saw some, right, of my opponents, some turns where I thought, oh, I would consider this a kind of obvious mistake, and also by me. And maybe I hope, I hope I won't do those mistakes next stage, but easier said than done. It's always easier to see the mistakes after the game than during the game, obviously. And yeah, I will be looking forward to play that stage and hopefully share some videos. And yeah, as I said, maybe I can still chair 1 of this stage, because there are still some interesting games to be seen, even in this stage. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. And we will find out together whether it's one game of this stage or if it's just a game of the next stage. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye bye.